The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
As a former New Hampshire state representative who marched with Dr. Martin Luther King in 1963, he currently serves on the New Hampshire Commission for Human Rights. He's a product of Birmingham, Alabama, where at one time he had to guess how many jelly beans were in a fruit jar just to be able to vote.
We've come a long way, but we're not there yet.
Together we will explore the visible laws, invisible laws, and the structures above and beneath our human surface that keep us reaching for the stars. It is his goal to work with you in putting Nashua back on top, to be voted the #1 city in the nation again.
We are in a crisis situation, and that's what we're going to talk about.
I'm Harvey Keye. Welcome to Nashua Strong.
Good afternoon, Nashua, New Hampshire. I'm back again with Harvey's TV program called Nashua Strong. It's strong because we won the #1 or 2 or 3rd place in the world. I mean, let's call it the country, and especially New Hampshire, to raise kids and grow up a family. We've done it 3 times under this mayor called Jim Donches. I'm so proud of that, and I could just scream about it. But more than that, we have a Broadway. We have the Arts Center coming in. We have new pavement on the streets. We have new aldermen coming aboard. We have a whole lot of stuff to be shouting about. And we have a lot to talk about, particularly today. I am pleased to have had the superintendent of schools on this show this Monday past, Dr. Mosley, with a strong sense of belonging, says, my job is to help kids do better in New Hampshire, in Nashua particularly, and he is here for the long haul. He made that statement to me just Monday. I believe him. He looked like he had a huge amount of resolve, and I expect a lot of harvest from the seeds that I think he's going to plant. I am also pleased today to have with me in building Nashua to be a stronger place, a young lady who is called Melanie Murphy. She is one of the persons who is volunteered in our midst in the school system to help feed kids who go home hungry some nights, and particularly on weekends. Now, I am really ashamed that we have thousands of kids in this rich city who go home without food at home, or weekends and they're eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or nothing maybe, I'm not sure. But I know this, that if you're hungry, you can't study. If you're hungry, you can't concentrate. If you're hungry and you're a kid, somebody's responsible. Your mom and your dad first, and maybe someone else later, I'm not really sure. But I am desperate to find answers to feeding kids in Nashua. Melanie Murphy, I've been honored to have her acquaintance for the last maybe 6 months, not sure. But I've been impressed with her go-get-it attitude to feed the kids when not enough food was available for whatever the reasons are. We won't get into the ugliness of that, but I'll get into the ugliness of why the shortage was there with the people who are responsible for making the shortages later this week, which is only tomorrow. That's Friday. And I can tell you this, Nashua, I am upset and very concerned about hungry kids in our city. Now, we have about an hour to talk about the kids under this new 501c3, which is, I don't know the name of it now, but I'll let Melanie tell you. But I want to tell you how upset I am, and I'm going to rattle the saber. I'm going to shake the cages. I'm going to shake you out if you're responsible for making this shortage of food for kids in our city. Now, let me introduce you to Melanie, and I'm going to ask Melanie a few questions. Melanie, would you say hello to this wonderful audience?
Hello, the city of Nashua.
That's Melanie. And Melanie is, what is your title, Melanie?
I'm a co-founder for the GateCity Community Coalition.
Co-founder for the state
GateCity
GateCity Community Coalition. And that really means what?
It's just as in Nashua Strong. The group is a bunch of strong women who are tired of all of the bureaucratic red tape that we have to go through to get anything for these kids, and all the paperwork that has to be filled out, and all the issues that come up all the time for them. Hunger doesn't wait for anybody. It's not going to wait for them. It's not going to wait for you to file the paperwork. It's not going to wait 30 days for someone to decide to stamp your paper. It's a now situation. And the kids need to be fed now, not later.
Okay.
It's now.
Let me just back up a little bit, Melanie. Where did you grow up?
Nashua.
Nashua. You are Nashuan.
Nashua.
Original.
Yes.
Well, that's hard to find these days, you know. But you must have a hunger for helping the hungry, for helping kids or helping your community. If you grew up in Nashua, I think you come up in Nashua somewhat like roughing it early on. So you know what the rough side is, or not having all of the glamour of Boston and New York is, having to do some things and do without some things growing up. And you learn a lot, and that's a huge lesson, I think, for all of us to learn. And we can learn from you how to do better with less. Now let me ask you this. Where did you go to school? Nashua?
Nashua.
What was your first job out of school?
Anyway, out of school, it would have been a receiver for Osco Drug.
Osco Drug. You hear? He's a benefactor of you. You helped to get to this level. And now you were a receiver. And what is it that inspired you to help these young kids, these kids who are in elementary school, aren't they?
Yes.
Get food on the table.
Probably from our father was involved in the community our whole childhood. He has a sign up at the stadium. His name was Bill Murphy. He has, he was recognized for his community service and did it for years in baseball and hockey. And forever he did it. And he kind of taught us that, you give back to the community, you help the kids. And that's what even my brothers and sisters are the same way. We're going to give back to the community. There's no reason not to. There's no reason to live in a glass house. It happens. It's not only in Nashua. It's in every city across the country. But it's whether or not you want to recognize it and whether you want to do something about it. Or whether you just want to think that it just doesn't exist because maybe it doesn't affect you personally.
Now, your sister's involved with you in this?
Yeah, she's the other co-founder.
The two of you.
Right. We have we also have 4 other members.
Do you have a board of directors?
Yes, Kathy and Terry and Judy.
So you are
Michelle.
new founders of a the organization is called
GateCity Community Coalition.
GateCity Community Coalition is a new nonprofit organization in Nashua to feed hungry kids.
That's correct.
And this organization is just born.
Just born.
What year? I mean, which month?
It was born basically out of frustration. We formed it last month.
Last month?
Last
So you're a month old?
We're a month old.
Do you have a pantry?
We're getting a pantry. Home Depot has kindly agreed to go ahead and build it for us.
So
Supply all the
Home
Chevy.
Depot is going to help you build a pantry. Do you have the space to do that?
The National Housing Authority.
The Nashua Housing Authority has a space at where's this place located?
It's at 100 Major Drive.
100 Major Drive. And housed at the 100 Major Drive seems to be some elderly housing?
There's elderly housing there as well. They have a number of apartments there. They're also house the elderly.
Is that a particular place in Nashua that's designed for disabled, unlucky?
There's a number of National Housing Authority has a number of locations
Okay.
within Nashua. This is just happens to be the one that we were fortunate to come upon, about 6 months ago, and we realized that. But we've also realized that there are other communities within the city that are just as desperate as this particular.
When you say
community.
desperate, it bothers me. Desperate for what?
Desperate for someone to help them. Desperate for someone to recognize them. Desperate for someone to just give them a helping hand.
Does that mean food and clothing?
Food and clothing, and just to let know that somebody's out there that cares. That they're just not that nobody cares about them, or they stigmatize them because maybe they think that they're all drug addicts. Maybe they think that they're all alcohol. They all have alcohol. They don't. A lot of them are single mothers who the father has just skipped out on them, and they're not getting any child support.
At Major Drive, you have single mothers?
Yes.
How many?
I'd say 50% of them are single mothers.
How many units in?
There's 100. There's 100 units that house the families, and there's another maybe 50 to 100 that house the elderly.
So there's 150 to 200 units.
Yes.
At Major Drive.
Major Drive.
That has how many kids?
104.
104 kids, under the age of?
They're all under the age of 18.
Under the age of 18. And many of these kids don't have food, you're saying?
No, they don't. They don't. They don't have enough.
They live with either the mom, a dad, or just the mom. Are there?
No, there are grandparents who have custody of them, and also there's a number of families in the grandparent. It's either one grandparent or two grandparents that have custody of
Sometimes
kids.
they're not with the parents, but with the grandparents.
The grandparents.
Is that a shakeout number? Like how many of those that you know?
I don't know
with
how
the
many.
Grandparents.
With the grandparents, I'd say there's maybe 20%.
20% of 104.
Yeah, I'd say 20% are with the grandparents.
And the other
majority are with just the mother.
Just single mothers.
Just the mother, and then there are some that actually.
Are there any fathers listed to be contacted?
I don't know. The housing authority would know. I would not know that information from them. We wouldn't be privy to that.
We wouldn't be privy.
No.
I understand that. But I wonder if we're feeding the kids who are hungry, that's resolving that particular problem. But the problem of hungry kids is not caused by that. It's caused by the husband or the father not being with the mother. The two of them are not gainfully employed,
right,
or together.
Or there's some handicap that's in.
Okay,
that's
but see
there.
that is the problem to me. Not being there to help take care of these kids is a problem. So not that I'm going to go after that because it's a no. I just don't. I don't have the capacity.
Right.
Now, if we're feeding kids, that's resolving that right now problem.
Right.
They're not hungry.
Right.
If they're not hungry, they could study better.
That's correct.
If they're not hungry, they could become a genius.
Right.
They could become an astronaut. They could become a teacher. They could become an engineer. They could become a scientist. They could become anything. They could become married and stay married.
That's right. They
could
will.
become anything they want to be if they're not hungry. But if they're not if they're hungry, more than likely, their future is damned. Because hunger drives you to things that you don't want to be.
Correct.
Okay? Now, you just said that you and your sister formed a what's that? C133. What's that?
501c.
501c3, not a 501c2.
No.
What's the difference?
Difference is funding.
Funding. Now you get funding. That's a federal government funding.
If they want to, we're not really going to try to go after that at this point because the pantry that we have.
Don't go too fast. You're not on trial. No, you get a 501c3. You got to see a 501.
Right, but the thing of it is that the pantry that we have at Major Drive is not as big as, say, is the soup kitchens or the.
Should it be?
Should it be? It could be, but the philosophy behind most of it is that what you're trying to do is target the community that you're in. So if there's, unfortunately, the food pantries always give the same thing. It's always peanut butter. It's always tuna fish.
Now wait a
always
minute.
saltine crackers.
The food pantry always gives.
Right. They give them.
Who is a food pantry?
It doesn't matter. Food pantries all over the country do the same thing.
Now we have a food pantry in Nashua.
We have two. We have Salvation Army, and
Is
we have
that a
Corpus
food
Christi.
pantry?
It's a food pantry.
So you could go to the food
Yes, you
pantry
could.
and get food for 104 kids.
No. Technically, yes. In a great world, yeah, sure, you could. But right now, no, they're not.
If you needed food for the 104 kids this coming weekend,
No.
Tomorrow is Friday.
No.
You couldn't go.
No, I was just there, and they don't have enough. They would not have enough to be able to do that. The food pantries themselves can't handle that. So
What could you get for these kids from the food pantry today?
today, I picked up their food bags for today.
How
They
many?
get a food bags. I picked up 30 food bags.
But you have 104 kids.
Right.
So what happens to the other kids who?
They're not giving us any more than what they're giving
That's a
us.
food pantry.
Food pantry is not.
Where else do you get food?
The other place comes from the soup kitchen.
And if you had a shortage of 70 food bags, of food packages, could you ask them for 70?
No.
What could you ask them for?
They give us the frozen meals twice a week for them. That's all.
That they couldn't give 70 of anything?
No.
Or they choose not to?
They just don't participate in that particular aspect of the
What
program.
if you went there and said, "Look at Mr. Soup Kitchen"?
They have the opportunity to do that if they want to. They just, that part of the program, those food bags, they don't participate in. The soup kitchen participates only in the frozen meal program
So
for
they-
the 22 kids. So they give us 66 meals for 22 kids. That's
Si-
it.
66 meals for 20. That's
Three a kid, three a child,
3 per day.
three per child per day.
Is that per day?
That's what. So they get one for, if we go on Monday, then they have a meal for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
So
until
that's
we
one
return.
meal a day.
Right, just the evening. That's it. That's it.
Is that adequate?
For some of them, no. I don't.
I mean, is
believe
that
so.
breakfast, lunch, or
It's-
dinner?
It's a dinner. It says nothing to do
It's
with
a dinner.
Well, they're saying that they're getting their breakfast and lunch at school as a free or reduced program that's involved at the schools.
Do they do that at your school?
Every school offers that.
That's
Every school.
That's free breakfast and lunch.
And lunch. If you
That's-
qualify.
And that's, yeah, you have to meet certain criteria.
Right.
So that's done all over the city?
Yes.
And Dr. Mosley knows this?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So lunch and breakfast and lunch, oh, we're
On a-
done.
Right, you're done.
Okay, but dinner is what we're talking about.
Right.
And you're saying you have 104 kids that go home on the weekend and they don't have any dinner.
Right. The Corpus Christi Food Pantry and Salvation Army provide a food bag on Thursdays that's supposed to help them supplement trying to get through that time frame of the weekend.
Wait, is there another place in the state that provides food?
There's a big food pantry, but you can't. The general public can't go in there.
No, I mean, but you are registered
Right.
as a 501c3.
I could go there. Yeah.
You could go there. Or some of your workers or associates could go with a list of, let's say, you're short now 70 dinners for this coming weekend.
Nobody else does that though. You're not going to get the type of the dinner that comes from the soup kitchen itself. You're not going to get from any other pantry. That's specific for this area that they're doing that. You can't go anywhere else and get that.
You can't go to Manchester.
They may have their own program, but we couldn't go. We couldn't go there because they're servicing their own community. They're not going to, we couldn't go there and say, I need another whatever. It would have to be produced at the soup kitchen within Nashua for that to happen. Other than that, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get it anywhere else. Not that frozen dinner, no.
I'm confused.
And, you know, last meeting they had, they said there is no funding for that particular program of getting those frozen dinners. So they're trying to, you know, get money from other places to try to fund the program. So as far as expanding the program, that really can't happen because there's no funding for the program. So
what happens to the kids that?
That's where we come in. We source stuff ourselves. The extra that we need ourselves that we can't get, we source it ourselves. We go out ourselves and knock on doors and ask. And should they call it?
Where are some of the places you ask for food?
Costco.
They're good to you?
Yes, they do. Walmart.
Walmart?
Walmart does it. We get it from Panera. Panera Bread is kind enough to donate their bread for the day when we go there. So the families can have a fresh
And once
loaf of
you
bread.
pick up the food, who puts it together to give it to the family?
The food bags are made by the Salvation Army in Corpus Christi on Thursdays. They bag them themselves. The soup kitchen puts together the frozen dinners. Those are just frozen. We pick them up
Do you
frozen.
have a place to keep frozen stuff?
We keep it at the community center on Major Drive. It's a freezer.
You got a freezer. And where did you get the freezer?
It was donated.
Donated.
We went out, knocked on doors, and got a freezer donated.
A big freezer, big freezer?
It's a stand-up freezer.
Okay. Now, you were saying that Home Depot is going to build a pantry.
They're going to outfit, with the shelving and everything for us.
And the pantry is going to be dry goods.
Right.
Yeah, no freezer. But you have a freezer.
We have a freezer.
And that comes in and it goes out. So it's a turnover.
Right.
It's a rapid turnover.
Right.
And do you distribute this food to the homes, or they come from the homes to pick it up?
Some of them don't. Some of them we actually deliver to them that are within the community. Some of them come.
They're
I'd say
handicapped?
80% walk there
Yeah.
from their homes, and they come in and get it themselves. And the other ones, for physical reasons, they can't. And it's a little bit too much for the kids to carry it across the project themselves. So we'll take them and we deliver it to them. We deliver outside of the project as well, because there are some families that aren't directly within Major Drive that are in the surrounding area, but we will deliver to them. They're part of the Dr. Crisp school, but it's just a little too far for them, especially now where it's gotten cold outside. We'll deliver the meal to them.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know that you're speaking to the second Mother Teresa. She is feeding the hungry as much as she can. She's asking for no return. You don't get any pay.
No.
Your pay is see happiness on kids' faces
True.
and mothers' faces. Are there fathers around sometime?
Sometimes there are. There are a few that do come. They'll come with the kids. Sometimes the mother doesn't come and they come. But there are a few that do. And the fathers are more than willing, when they come there, and if we're unloading the things from the car, I can tell you right now that the whole community gets involved over there. When we come with the cars and the cars are loaded with whatever we have for them for that evening, they all help unload those items.
Yeah.
Recently, just last night, we gave away 22 Christmas trees, artificial Christmas trees.
22 Christmas
22
trees?
artificial Christmas trees that were donated by Walmart. We brought them down
Thank
there
you,
last
Walmart.
night. We brought them down there last night. And
Do they give you food also?
They do on occasion.
Yeah.
They do on occasion. But we picked up, it was just a spur of the moment thing that we had to take them yesterday. We called the people within the community, and they got Christmas trees. People that didn't have them, that were at this point with the kids,
Yeah.
trying to make a choice of, am I going to buy a $35 or $50 Christmas tree for my kids, or am I going to feed my kids? You got to feed your kids. So now you have children within the home that it should be a fun time of year for kids,
Yeah.
regardless of whether you celebrate Christmas or not. It's just a fun time. And unfortunately, those kids were suffering a little bit, but they came in last night and they got a Christmas tree.
Great.
They got a Christmas tree, and the families were extremely grateful because they were struggling with the not having a Christmas tree, and they have kids.
Yeah.
And they came in last night and they got their
See
got
a
a Christmas tree.
See a smile on a kid's face is worth.
And they were very excited about the fact that they got a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just like when we gave away 285 meals for Thanksgiving.
285 meals?
285.
And you got that food from?
That came out of a group out of Manchester that we deal with. But we're part of that. We signed up for that a couple years ago, and it's expanded and went to 285.
What's the name of that group?
Shire Sharing.
Okay.
We went up there. We had to pick them up. We picked all the meals up. We picked all the turkeys up, brought them back. The distribution centers were either at Fairgrounds Middle School, and they were over on Major Drive. And all the schools in Nashua.
When you say we picked them up, who provides this transportation?
We do.
Who buys the gasoline?
We do.
Who
Out of our pocket.
Out of your pocket?
Out of our pockets.
Mother Teresa, as I said to you, there she is right here, living color.
Out of
Mother
out
Teresa.
of our pockets.
Thank you so much.
U-Haul's been very, very generous with us by cutting the rate on the trucks that we've needed. Thank God for them. But we've had to pick things up at the spur of the moment for them, and anything that we can get for them, we pick it up. And the community is very grateful for it. They're extremely grateful. The kids are very grateful. The community over there has changed immensely in the past 6 months.
Because they've been able to eat.
The kids are playing. Even the people in the elderly housing who the kids were more of an irritant to them.
Yeah.
Aren't an irritant to them anymore. They come into the community center. They talk to the kids. We have one guy who teaches them magic tricks because the kids, that didn't happen.
Now, inasmuch as the community center has opened just across the street from Dr. Chris School, would that detract from your?
No.
Because
not at all.
how far away is Major Drive from this community center?
It's going to be less than a mile.
Oh, a mile.
Maybe a mile.
Yeah.
Maybe a mile.
Now, that community center does not serve Major Drive?
It's within it's in their
Boundaries?
their boundaries
Yeah.
to do it, but unfortunately that right now that is not a functioning capacity community center at the moment.
Okay. So
They're trying to be, but they're not.
Are you going to get involved in the community center?
Not that one, no.
Okay, ma'am. I won't go any further with that question.
No.
You said no so quickly. But at any rate, I think you're doing such a marvelous job. And this, to me, is what makes Nashua strong. This is why, one of the reasons I'm here, I talked about voting in Birmingham, Alabama. I could not vote after serving in the Korean conflict. And they told me if I needed to vote, I needed to count some beads in a jar. I got to New Hampshire and I got a chance to get involved in the community and become a civil servant and become somebody that I felt that I could become in Nashua. That's why I love Nashua.
Right.
And I think I want to transfer and transmit that love to everyone who's listening, that Nashua is one of the best cities in the world, and particularly in New Hampshire. No, in America, to live and raise a family. So we're going to praise Nashua a lot, but we're going to have a lot more work done to keep Nashua strong, and hopefully get us into the fourth magazine of We Are Best. But what bothers me, and it bothers me a lot, hungry kids and homeless kids. I got a chance to sit with a gentleman just recently. His name happens to be John Sayers. And I don't know, John, if you're listening to this program, I hope you do. But John Sayers is a man of many caps and hats in the city of Big Brothers and what have you, in Nashua, Man of the Year and what have you. And he says, Harvey, did you know that we have homeless kids in Nashua? I can't believe it. I know Dr. Mosley doesn't like this. I know Mayor Donchis doesn't like this. These are people who are on the forefront of leading Nashua into the next whatever it is out there, and we want to stay on top of that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing and what you're saying, and I want to get involved with your organization to see if I can't make some contributions in that direction and help others to get on board and help you do more than just do the work, but help guide the work and help more kids, and those kids, especially 104 kids in your and your bailiwick
Yeah,
that are hungry and don't have don't have food on the weekend.
right. And the other stigmatism that they have towards these particular kids, I think, as well, is these kids are very well behaved children. They don't cuss. They don't come in there, you know. They all act appropriately. We've never had a problem with any of them, even if they've come alone because their mother's not feeling well, their mother is coming back late from work. They'll come and shop on their own. They shop on their own.
Shop in your pantry.
Yeah, they come in and shop on their own, all by
That's great.
themselves. They come in, they're comfortable enough to come in there by themselves and pick out, or we help them pick out what they should take home. And they're very good about it. And they've been coming there so long. They're secure in the fact that, and they trust you, that, you know, they come in by themselves. They have no problem with it at all.
Melanie has just touched upon a huge emotional, I think, hot button for me. It's called self-respect. If they have self-respect, and they get self-respect from their moms and dads, or grandparents, they will be able to become great civic leaders in our local communities. They will become teachers and policemen and what have you. But the self-respect is really first step. It's called self-respect. If you can't respect yourself, you can't respect your mom, you can't respect your dad, the police department, school department. So I am so blessed to have you here to talk about self-respect in a different way.
Right.
Because if they respect you, when they come in and they are mannerable and they're decent and not a huge amount of, or any profanity for that matter.
None at all.
They're just nice young kids, and God bless them. Now, tell me, where do you see this organization going?
The organization is not only help just that community in itself, is to help the other communities that are also suffering within the city that right now are not being recognized because there's no program there, and there's just not enough funding.
Is there a kindergarten? Do you have a kindergarten at your place?
No.
No. Dr. Mosley says we're going to have a kindergarten in the city of Nashua. Would that be of some relief, maybe?
The relief for the parents as well is that they do need to have a kindergarten where they can bring the kids so that the parent can go and get a job.
Yeah.
Right now, it's they can't because there is no kindergarten. The community center on Arlington Street that just opened, they're trying to do that. They haven't. They're not at 100% there yet, but they're trying to get it so that parents can drop off the smaller children that can be at the facility so the parents can work.
Now, you mentioned that, parents dropping off smaller kids. You know who's left behind in our society? One of the groups? Young mothers across the board who have 1 or 2 or 3 kids with 1 or 2 or 3 jobs, and they're not paid much attention to. Whatever the reason is, those people are invisible. Mm-hmm. They are, and of course you're not asked, you know, which mother's going to come and say, well, you know, I have 3 kids, and you're not going to come up and identify and be recognized. That's an insult to them, and I don't know any other way at this point. But I know we can do better. We have the capacity to do a lot better if we ever get rid of this ego.
Egos have to, right, the
Ego,
egos,
I am
right.
Harvey, and my car is bigger than yours, and my house is bigger than yours, and I am better looking than you, and I have more contact than you, and I have more money than you. That is just a stumbling block for human development in our time.
Right.
We are civilized, but I don't know if we have evolved to the top of the rung. We are still working on how to be better to each other than we ever were.
Right.
And we're today, 50 years ago, if we measure where we have come from the last 50 years, we've moved about 0.7%. That's not enough. That's not satisfactory for the human genome to continue to develop. We got to do better. And we have to take down the barriers. We have to be able to embrace differences. We have to say, I love you, and not be ashamed of it. It doesn't matter who you are and what your gender, race, creed, or color is. We have to begin to understand that all of us are God's children. Whoever your God is is my God too.
Right.
I guess. I don't know if I want to say that right, because we don't get into religious stuff on here, but I can tell you this. All of us came from the same place. Now, you can call your God whatever you want to call it, but 7.5 billion people in the world have 2 eyes, a mouth, a nose, and a head, feet, arms. 60% of all the brains in the world is fat. The other 20% or 40% is water. Now, that doesn't mean you're a fathead at all. It simply means that all of us are designed physically and physiologically so much similar, but then the closer you look, the more different we become. So all of us, around the world, 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, and a brain to use if we're wise. We have not wised up yet. Well, we're getting close to shutting this down and saying hello to Melanie, and thank you, Melanie.
Yeah,
Let me ask you, if you have any, this is not your last time here. I'm going to tell you that because we got a lot of work to do.
Sure we do.
And I know you're going to be checking up on me and say, Harvey, you know you promised to do
Sure.
that.
That's
and
right.
I'll be doing that because I'm going to start tomorrow. And I don't play games with the Nashua Strong. I love this city. I love it more than I've loved any city I've ever lived in. And you, even though you are Nashuan and born here, I love it more than you do. I want to thank you so much. Any final words for you?
Well, we'd like the people to go to the website.
Okay. Please go to this website. It is called C as in Charlie, space, hyphen, strong.org. And I'll let Melanie say that to you. She could say it better. That's her organization.
We'd like anybody to visit our website. It's gcc-strong.org. You can get involved on the website. You can email us on the website. You can donate on the website, and you can see what we're all about on that website.
And we can be better to each other today than we were yesterday by saying, hello, how do you do? And just be kinder to each other. It's not a big job, and all of us have that capacity. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Access Nashua. This is our community television, and it goes around the world. We want the world to know that you're looking at Nashua Strong, the only city in this country who's done that 3 times. Number 1, the top 20 cities to live and raise a kid in the city of Nashua. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Have a nice holiday, if I don't talk to you before.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.